Welcome, everybody, to the greatest fucking podcast known to mankind. All right, episode goddamn 7.
8.
8.
Episode 8.
8. Welcome to episode 8.
I realized today that, if there's anybody new listening to the podcast that hasn't listened before, they don't even know our names. We don't even talk about it. We've never introduced ourselves.
We don't have to,
So
bro.
he's the R and I'm the G. That's all you need to know.
I like that. The R and the G.
Yeah.
And the N is... No. I was going to say that's the people, but that doesn't make any sense. But that's the R and the G. So,
there you go.
Hey, welcome. Episode goddamn fucking 8. See,
Yep.
I even forgot because I'm never this consistent.
There's
So
just
this
been
is
too many to keep count.
It's fucking too many, man. But... I think one of the best things about doing this shit is it proves our theory that when you build something great, people will come.
That's our theory. We came up with that.
You know what I'm saying? And here we are. It's fucking proven. Hey, we in here. We're
The
creating
proof
some greatness.
is in the pudding.
Boom. The pudding is the podcast. That is.
Whoa.
Whoa, dude. Oh shit! All right.
So last time, go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say last time we ended the podcast saying that we were gonna get political today.
Oh, is today the Okay, you're right. Yeah, today's a political. Podcast.
That's what I remember.
That's what I remember too. Now that you fucking reminded me that that's what happened. You know what, dude? Today, let's get political, dude. But before we get political, I just want to say, I woke up this morning with a fucking headache, which never happens.
Mm-hmm.
And right off the bat, I was like, shit, no fucking energy, bro. I got a fucking headache, bro. It's like fucking raining outside, dude. And I'm just like, I hate my life right now. I don't know what the fuck is happening, but I hate everything about my life right now. So I'm just on that type of vibe right now. So politics... It's perfect. You know what I mean?
It's perfect, dude. Did you know that you can't spell energy without RNG?
Woo! I like that.
That's the new slogan.
Fuck it. I was gonna say, can that be? But it will be. It will be. That's what that shit is now.
Oh man. So I feel like prior to starting this podcast, you had something you were gonna say. You had something you were gonna tell me.
Dude, I was okay. So finishing off the WoW saga.
Oh, this is the ending.
I decided I'm gonna speak on the mic. That was the end of the talk. I spoke on the mic, and everyone knows how I sound. They've been waiting on it for a week. They've been literally typing into chat throughout the week. I can't wait. My name in the game. Well, I can't. Well, is the fucking name. All right, listen. At this point,
it all makes sense now. It's all coming together.
They were like, man, I can't wait, because I told them Fridays when I get my mic.
All right.
And so they were just like, I cannot wait until Friday, bro. I can't wait until we finally get this fucking mic and hear him. Because I've been playing with these guys for months now.
Yeah.
And then they finally heard me, and then we're all fucking best friends, dude. It fucking worked out. It's great.
That's all it took.
That's all. Just me, you know what it is, bro? Just me. You know what I mean? Just me, bro.
Just hopping on the mic, and they're like, man, this guy's my best friend now.
Bro, I've been best friends, bro. They just had to have a voice associated with all the bullshit I was saying.
They saw what you were able to do with text chat only, and now they're like, oh damn, this guy's really gonna be making some moves now that he has voice.
Dude, I toppled a guild with just not even speaking once in a mic, but just typing to people. So I mean, I'm saying it, dude. It's fucking crazy out here. But anyways, that's the end of the WoW saga. I won't have too many. Maybe I might come back.
That wasn't even an update. That wasn't you made it seem like there was some news. It literally is you just got a mic and everybody's happy. Where's the conflict?
Okay, you want conflict?
That's not an update.
This is why people don't like politics, because this fucking mindset. He wants fucking conflict. He doesn't just want a goddamn resolution.
Yeah, I need something.
Man. God damn, dude. There's no conflict, dude. The only conflict was me having a mic the whole time, but just saying I didn't have a mic, and then just telling them that this is gonna be the day and everything.
And nobody was like, "Hang on, is that King Raja?"
Nah, dude.
Nobody knew.
But one day I'm gonna start streaming WoW because I feel like I have a bunch of people who like in WoW that like know me and want me to like, or just like want to like fucking hang out on Discord and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna just turn on the fucking stream, bro. That's like 30, 40 motherfuckers right there, maybe
there
more.
You go.
And then just boom. This is the redemption arc of the next decade. It's the redemption
That's the redemption arc in the WoW saga.
Dude, that's wild. The WoW saga has started so small. Like, oh look, I joined a guild, and now it's like, fucking.
Now it's back to being small again. It peaked. It already peaked like the second episode.
Well, it was. I feel like it was like a season of. It's like Game of Thrones almost, right? It's like where like fuck it. It started off like,
Jump the
this
shark.
is my kingdom. Yeah, like it was like, yo, this is my kingdom. These are the boys. This is what we got to do. And then by the episodes kept going, we just took over the kingdom. We're like, nah, fuck it. We gonna have our own fucking kingdom. By the end of the season, bro, we got dragons and shit now. Like we're on some totally other shit. But yeah, dude. Speaking of which, also, I just want to say on the political topic of today's episode, how we should tackle this, how we should talk about this. Okay, I just want to say. Before we continue into this political discussion, I just want to say, people that don't fucking fact check or just blindly believe one person for everything that they say, but then will also say, why are you believing in that source because it's fake news? I feel like that logic is the biggest fucking contradiction I've ever heard in my fucking life. It's the most idiotic shit ever. I hate people who think like that. I'm going to just say it off the bat, dude. I'm going to say it off the bat.
That being said, make sure, if we say anything that sounds a little sus, go ahead and fact check us.
No. We're 100%. You got to just blindly follow us. What do you mean?
I want to have a nice political discourse here where we can talk openly. Everybody in the comments is welcome to type their opinion as well. I want everybody to be friendly. And
this will be the last episode of the podcast if me and him disagree. This will be the final
Raj
nail
and I
in the coffin.
We have vastly different political views, so this is going to get heated.
Heated, boys.
Heated.
We're going to roast the shit out of each other with it. No, but I feel like we're pretty much the same in how we look at literally.
That's the thing. When I feel like, when you have a political talk, right, you're having a discussion. Yeah. And I feel like it's very easy to get stuck in an echo chamber, right? Because you're only associating with other people who have the similar mindset as you. And when you do that, obviously, like you get this positive reinforcement that the way you think is the right way to think. And when you don't have the discussion, and you're not able to see both sides of the issues, then it's like, there's not much of a point, but we're going to be doing that anyway.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, it was the thing that we always talk about where like people, actually we don't always talk about this. It's actually very specifically just last episode. Yeah, dude, last episode, like very specifically, we were talking about how people needed to find like a right or wrong and everything in life, right? Just like on a philosophical sense, like is what I'm doing right or wrong? But I think that translates to ideologies like politics also, right? So like people they want to feel like their shit's right. So if you feel like your shit's so fucking right, why would you ever go associate with some guy who's like telling you that you're wrong? You know what I mean? Like, and then if the side that you believe in has a guy that's like, you know what? Fuck anyone that says we're fucking wrong. We're fucking right. And he's just like putting a battery pack behind you. Like you're going to, obviously get fucking, you're going to pick sides. You're going to echo chamber yourself.
And I think that like today politics is so divided. I feel like maybe at least in the modern era, more than ever before, or maybe I'm just aware of it because I'm older and I'm tuned in, right?
That's definitely what it is for me, dude.
But it's like it feels like everybody makes all these issues black and white when that's just not the way the world works. Like there's gray area in everything.
Yeah.
So I think really like I don't know where I was going with that. Basically, you got to understand that there's a lot of subtlety in these issues and just try and understand everything from like another person's perspective. And I think that's something that everybody could benefit from, taking a step back and trying to look at humanity as a whole. So like when I'm thinking about these issues, right, typically like there may be certain things that I'm not like necessarily for or that I believe in necessarily, but I'm going to contradict myself right here when I say this. And I say that I don't personally believe in that, but I feel like it would benefit like the vast majority of people. Does that make sense?
Okay, just give me like an example.
So like I think that a lot of people, when they go to the polls, when they go to vote, they're voting for themselves and they're not thinking about their children. They're not thinking about their neighbor. They're not thinking about, other people in the community. They're just voting for what they think would benefit them the most.
Right.
And for me, I'm trying to like come to a place where my vote isn't just for myself. It's for what I think is the right thing for other people.
Right. So, I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess like one of the biggest, probably one of the things that I've kind of like been trying to figure out, and I think I know my stance on it now, but for a while it was the free college tuition issue, right? Because that's a lot of things. That's a thing that a lot of progressives have been like coming out with. And when we're talking about politics, just to give this a little bit of frame of reference, we're talking about in the United States. we have like no understanding of international politics and that sort of thing. So everything that we're saying is coming from two Americans. And that's the point of view we're providing. So in America, college tuition is expensive regardless of whether you go to a public college or a private college. We also have what's known as out-of-state tuition. So if you're a resident in a state like, say you're a resident in California and you want to go to a college in Utah, right? You're going to have to pay more to go to the college in Utah, and not just like a few $100s more. We're talking about like 2 to 3 times the cost when you're looking at in-state tuition is typically like 10 grand a year, approximately, right? So out-of-state tuition, you're looking at like 25 grand.
Jesus.
If you're doing a full course load.
Right.
And that might not be tuition. That might be overall cost as far as like housing as well. But anyway, it's expensive, right? So what a lot of progressives have been doing, if you look at the presidential debates going on right now, the Democratic debates, you have candidates who are focusing on education, right? You have Bernie Sanders, you have Elizabeth Warren, who are both saying, we should forgive student debt, because I think it's like 20% of Americans have like over $10,000 in student debt or something. I don't know. Look that up. There's some statistic, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things is that they're going to cancel all student debt.
Right.
Or up to a certain amount. I think Elizabeth Warren wants to cancel up to either 50 or 100,000. I can't remember the specifics. She doesn't want to cancel all of it. She wants to get rid of a significant portion. Bernie wants to cancel all of it, right? So how do you feel about that? I've been talking a long time here.
No, I actually like that you're talking a long time, because oftentimes I'll look on the recording software, and it's always just like my voice, and then I'm just like, all right, fam, like I gotta, I feel like I gotta let you talk too. But when you talk, it's good. I like that. But how I feel about that is, I think the entire system behind student loans is extremely fucking predatory, and it's to the point where when they teach high school students in this country that college is like, they don't say that college is the only way, but that's the impression that they give you, right? Like you should just go to college. So they're kind of pushing you towards this route that is kind of in bed with this fucking not insurance, but there's a loan system that fucking just puts these students into awful fucking debt.
Yeah.
Like it's crippling as fuck to have student loan debt. And so I'm a little sick right now. I have friends in real life who work at Amazon, different companies, maybe not like, higher ups, but people that work on the floor, people that are managers. And one of my friends in particular, you met him, fucking Carl, right? Remember Carl? Great guy. So fucking Carl, he always talks about it too. The student loan debt is such a crippling fucking issue for people, to the point where it demoralizes people, man. It makes people feel like they can't do much in life, that they always have to just keep working to pay off this fucking number, that, it should not be that astronomically high, to educate yourself, to be a functioning fucking citizen, right, in the country. And I think them saying that they're going to erase like an X amount of it versus like erasing all of it, I think I think what needs to happen is they need to break up that entire fucking system of how they give out student loans and how they fucking go after you to get that money back. Like, I think we need to reform the system before we even look at how much debt is even owed. Because I think last time I looked, it was like fucking over 100 billion or some shit just in like unpaid student loan debt.
I think it's I just saw it the other day. I think it's like it's like 1.5 trillion. I think, and maybe that might not be the existing student loans. I think that might be how much it would cost to cancel the student loans as well as provide free tuition.
Right.
Like we said earlier, fact check us.
Yeah.
But I know it's over 1 trillion to either cancel all of it, and I think it's to cancel all of it and provide free tuition. Would cost that
That's
much.
insane. Yeah, 1.3 is a lot, but I think it's worthwhile because a good example that I use is like India, right? Because like my mom watches Indian news all the time. Still, she always like tells me what the fuck is happening, and I guarantee you, bro, like 99% of the problems India has with its corrupt system, and with like we have Donald Trump here, right, dude? They have a version of Donald Trump in every fucking like street corner when it comes to politics. They're like everyone has the same mindset as him, so it's always corrupt as shit. And I think like what's happening in India is that there is so much corruption that there's a widespread amount of people that go uneducated, and those people end up becoming like fucking truck drivers and shit. And recently there was like this whole situation where I guess like there were some people in their 20s, zero educational background, they raped this poor doctor woman, and they like burned her alive under a bridge. Like, it was so fucked up. And when that shit happened, the police didn't react for like a couple days, and the people of India were like, nah, fuck this, we gonna go find these people and just kill them ourselves. Like, it was like on some like vigilante justice shit. But one of the biggest things is a lack of education plays into that, because these 20-something-year-olds have nothing better to fucking do. You know what I mean? Like, they don't go to school, they don't go to college, they don't educate themselves. They probably didn't even get any sort of formal training either, because they come from really poor families. And I think when we have poor people in a country, we need to also be able to educate these people to give them some route out of that lifestyle. Otherwise, you're kind of just cementing them to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's not just like a lack of education, it's also a lack of opportunity, which is something that an education provides. And that's just one route of getting there, but there's other ways to do it.
Yeah, dude. Opportunity is huge.
Yeah. But like we said, in America, the student debt is ridiculous. I know that my sister got out, and I think she only had like $20,000 in debt. And I say only 20,000 because that's actually like good to come out with like that much debt. I think my girlfriend right now has like $9,000 in debt. She's not done with her education. I've been fortunate enough that I don't have any debt. I've been in college. This is my 5th year.
Okay.
My first 2 years I went to a community college, which is like a smaller college. My family's broke, so I got a Pell Grant. For those of you who don't know, a Pell Grant is basically like government aid for people who can't afford going to college. So I was able to get the full Pell Grant, and my college was cheap enough that it paid for that. So I feel like I'm a direct beneficiary of government programs, right? So I feel like it would be very hypocritical for me to be like, no, we shouldn't have free tuition, because that's essentially what I've been given. And I think a lot of people, I don't know, it's just like, education shouldn't be for profit. If we can provide an education to high schoolers and elementary students, because 100 years ago, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm assuming that 100 years ago, it cost money to send your kids to school, right? Because a lot of people didn't do that. It wasn't necessary. And a lot of people are like, I've heard the argument, well, if you open it up college to everybody, then that devalues what a bachelor's degree is worth. And it's like, I think that's a really poor argument, because it was the same thing with high school. Like back in the day, high school diploma was worth something. Now it's not worth something anymore. Back in the day, a bachelor's degree was worth something. Now, pretty much everybody has one. It's not like this special thing anymore. So I just think that it should. I think it should be free.
I think I think it should be free, but I think if you have like a private college, like one of those like Dartmouths or whatever the fuck, like those like super rich kid Uber colleges, right? Like I think there needs to be like a difference. Like it's like going to a private school versus like a middle school, or like not middle school. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
like
a private school is private. It's privately funded. So if you want to charge, that's fine. But for a public university,
Yeah.
it's public, just like a public high school. You don't pay to go to high school, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you pay taxes, but it's like if it's public, you should be able to go there tuition free, in my opinion. So for me, I don't know. I think for a while I was kind of like, well, why is that? In my mind, I always go back to like, is this fair? Is this like a fair thing to do, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
look at somebody like my sister, for example, who came out with $20,000 in debt.
Yeah.
And over the past 5 years or whatever, she's saved her money. She's lived frugally and she's been able to pay that off. So
Mm-hmm.
I look at her situation and saying, you know what, we're going to cancel all student debt. It kind of seems like a slap in the face to somebody like that who has,
Right.
quote unquote, been responsible, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so what do you think about that? Do you think any sort of reparations, I guess, should be made towards people who had a lot of student debt and they paid it off responsibly? Because, it seems unfair to those people. So what would you say to that?
See. I don't have like a direct answer to that unless it's something where it's like, okay. I think it goes back to that thing you said earlier, right? Where you were like, you benefited off the free, not free, but the grants, right?
Yeah.
Like you benefited from the programs that they had, the social programs. So in a way, you know, benefiting from that and being allowed to go through that process, it allowed you to get less of a debt. Whereas your sister kind of had to pay everything off. But you're also saying how the bigger picture, right, was that a lot of people could benefit from this. So if you were to vote, you'd vote on that basis, right? Like the bigger picture.
Hmm.
I think a lot of the people that did pay off their debt that managed to do it, like your sister, they're very intelligent people to be able to even pull that off. Because I know people with so much debt and even with just even a little bit amount of debt that still can't pay it off, right? So it takes a certain amount of like financial prowess to even like get to that point for a lot of people. But I think a bigger thing is that there's way more people I feel like cannot pay it off, right? Or just are struggling with it because of life or whatever the fuck is happening with them. And I think if you look at the bigger picture, a reparation makes sense, but a bigger thing is to just remove it. So like the other 100 million or however many motherfuckers who are like still like crippled by it, like we free them first, right? It's
Right.
more like look at the bigger picture and then like have these people free first, and then it's unfair that someone else paid for it and then it becomes free, but it's like way more people are now free because of this. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Versus like the people that need reparations for it. So again, it's just one of those things where it's like you got to look at the bigger picture. I think for me personally, a reparation would be fair, but sometimes something that's fair is not always the best for like the majority of the population. You know what I mean? And that's always like the contradiction when it comes to
Right.
like policies or trying to make a compromise.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm at because it's like, it seems unfair, but it's like to move forward as a society, sometimes you just have to make sacrifices like that. And like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it sucks, but I mean, you're out of debt. You did it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. I think that I agree with you where it's like you need to just look at the bigger picture and say, you know what? Just because I went through this shit doesn't mean everybody else should have to do it as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's like
Yeah.
you said at the beginning, it's kind of predatory because these loans are pitched to students who are, 17, 18 years old. You're still a kid at that point. I'm
Right.
27 and I still don't feel like I have a proper education on like the financial world and how loans, I mean, I understand, the general idea of loans, but I think at that age, you don't really understand what it means if you're taking out $10,000, $20,000 per year for
Mm-hmm.
school.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to come out of school at 22, 23 with, 50, $60,000 in debt.
Dude,
And
and
that's
parents
just,
encourage that.
yeah. And
They
I mean, that's
encourage
just
because yeah.
something that's unique to our generation compared to, our parents or people who
Yeah.
went to school, 30 years ago.
I think the problem is it's like you know how Reagan had the trickle down economic system.
Hmm.
I think what we're facing is a trickle down corruption system, right? Where it's like these motherfuckers who used to be our age, right? Who benefited off of like fucking paying or fucking having like a minimum wage job and being able to afford like a fucking house and shit back in the
Right.
day, right? Like people that those same people are now in a position to fuck over people our age where they were at because now they have the power to do so, right? And it's all these fucking policies are pretty much geared to just like equip them with the most amount of money they can at the cost of like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think the shitty education system is a symptom of a much bigger sickness in the country, and I think that sickness is like the corporate fucking greed, because that's what the issue really is if you kind of think about it. Because motherfuckers didn't learn how to do taxes anytime in school, like high school, middle school. They don't teach you that shit. And the worst part is, in high school, I was taught that if you went to a community college or a state college, it wouldn't look as well as going to like a university, right? Like
Right.
whatever you see, which is complete bullshit. Like that's not even fucking real. Like
No, that's
no
real,
one gives a
but
shit.
it's
It's
not.
real.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
But
if you're
think
going
of
to like a prestigious
yeah,
university or a larger university that
yeah,
has a good reputation, it's gonna be better than if you just go to a no-name state college. That's just the way it is. The reason those schools are prestigious is because they provide a good education. They have a reputation for that. That
but see
doesn't
it.
mean that you
Uh
can't
huh.
get a job. That doesn't mean that the education you're getting isn't any good. But to say that Harvard doesn't provide a better education than your no-name state college would be ridiculous because it's Harvard for a reason, you know?
True. Okay, I'll concede to that point, but I think what I wanted to say with that was that fucking it's a cycle. It's like you were saying that is just the way it is, that people look at like certain universities as being better than certain ones, right? I think that mindset, and then that them telling you that that's the route, with comboed with these universities being predatory as fuck to anyone coming in, it's just a fucking cycle of putting people in debt and giving them this idea and this impression that this is the route and this is the only route. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's where the issue comes up. It's like, I think as a society, we have to fucking change our standards for what we look at with people that we're employing. Like, because like you said, like obviously some guy comes in with the Harvard, that looks better than some community college guy. But why can't the level of information provided in a community college still be up to par to equip someone for a job? Like, why does it
Right.
have to sort of be the other way around? So then, and that's the biggest thing. I think at the end of the day, in a capitalistic society, people should not feel like they're, because it's RNG where the fuck you end up in life, like when you're first born. You know what I mean? You could
Yeah.
be born into like a poor family, and then but being RNG'd into a situation like that financially, that shouldn't like be your fate for fucking ever, right? Like,
Right.
and there's ways to, people will say like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all this other fucking shit. And
Yeah.
you could do that. You could do that. Like, I'm not even saying, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, you have to understand that when you create a system that tells these people that this is what it is or this is the way it is, then you're just kind of like telling them to go fuck themselves, right? Because it's like, hey,
Right.
you RNG'd into it,
Yeah.
fuck it, hey,
Essentially.
I had to deal with it, yeah.
And I think it's
So
like you're
yeah,
saying that I think a lot of people have this impression that when, younger people want these policies and they want these, just these issues addressed, a lot of people will be like, well, that's life isn't fair. Not everybody's equal. Like, not everybody works the same. Like, not everybody works as hard as everybody else, So there's some
mm-hmm,
people that work harder than everybody. And it's not that we want like everybody to be equal.
mm-hmm,
That sounds bad, like in a vacuum when I say it like that, but we want
yeah,
everybody to have equal opportunity. So it's
yeah,
like
that's
if you
important,
work
yeah,
hard, you should be able to get wherever you want to go. And like if you want to take it easy, that's cool too.
mm-hmm.
But like you shouldn't be defined on like what you're saying, where you're born or where you're raised or whatever, what family situation you're brought into, because you don't have any control over that. Everybody should have the opportunity to go to school, get an education if they want to.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think another mindset that sort of needs to happen, or not happen, but it should happen. I don't know when it'll happen, but one of the biggest things is like, an example I always use is, imagine like growing up, you had parents that beat you, right? Or like,
Hmm.
made you feel like shit and they hurt you as a kid. You have all these like underlying problems, and say one day you have a family, right? You have a kid. And then you pop off on the kid too for some shit that the kid did, right? And
Right.
then you kind of see, the person that you hated the most, like your dad or whoever the fuck hit you, in you, like as you do that to your kid, right?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people, they want to avoid that. They want to go away from that. They want to say, no, 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 I'm gonna fix the mistakes of the past, right? I'm gonna do something different for this generation. I'm gonna do something, better. I think that mindset needs to exist a lot more in people. I think when people say, fuck it, that's just the way it is, it's not fair, it is what it is, I think those people are the exact types of people who got hurt and will continue to hurt, because fuck it, they went through it, so why should you have to
Right.
not go through it, right? And it's just that really shitty one-dimensional mindset that everyone is. I wouldn't say everyone, but people that speak to that ilk of like, life's not fair. I think it's that kind of mindset that kind of plagues them.
Yeah, I think it's like you were saying earlier how, one of the symptoms that is kind of plaguing our country is corporate greed, and I'd take it one step further to say it's just greed in general.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
because it's not even like the ultra wealthy who are against these sort of things. It's upper middle class people. It's just anybody who has like an above average level of comfort is saying, I worked hard to get here. Everybody else is just lazy. And I
Yeah.
think that's a symptom of American culture in general. It's a symptom of capitalism where it's like everybody's just looking out for themselves. It's a very individualistic approach. We're concerned
Right.
with ourselves and those immediately around us. And in some cases, not even those around us. Some people that have parents who have made a lot of money, but they're like, you're still going to have to pay for your own college. You're going to have to do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody, for whatever reason, it's like you're saying they want you to have to go through what they went through to feel
Yeah.
like you've earned it or whatever, which is, I don't know, seems a little contradictory from when, it seems like parents always work hard. And they always say that they work hard, to provide a better life for their children than they had themselves. But then when it comes to these sort of issues, it's like, no, you have to do that because that's what I did.
Right. No, dude, like that it's just a lack of growth. It's a lack of this mindset of growth. I think though, I always go back to education as being the reason why, some people don't have the ability to think that way. But just imagine like if back in fucking middle school or high school, you had like a class like personal development that everyone had to take. And just imagine like you sit in this class, right? And you're like, man, what the fuck is this? Not math, it's not English. But the teacher comes out and he's like, guys, let's talk about your lives. Let's like actually look at you as a human being. Like let's just break out of your fucking head for a moment, right? And let's Billy, like how old are you, Billy? What's going on at home? What do you want to do in the future, right? Just talk to people. Like just talk to the kids as if they're fucking people and not just like, test scores that you can fucking mark off at the
Right.
end to get a paycheck from the government. Like look at these kids like they're fucking kids and just like talk to them and give them. I think personal development is the number one thing that lacks in America and in a lot of other countries. It's his ability to recognize self and the ability to grow oneself. And I think when you're in this shitty capitalistic system, that greed we're talking about, it kind of puts you back in that place of like not wanting to grow. Like you just want to stay where you're at because it's comfy, right? And if anyone tries to move you away from that comfy place, you just say, well, no, I deserve this. You fucking don't. So you should get the fuck out, right? And then it's just this really like ultra defensive mediocrity. And I think that's it's like everyone's just stagnant and they just want to remain stagnant,
Yeah.
because they
I
can,
think I think as far as personal development goes and personal growth, I think that our generation, like millennials and Gen Z,
Yeah.
I think that our generations are much more conscious of it, and I think that might be a byproduct of us not being dealt the best hand. I think
Mm-hmm.
when everything's going well for you, you're
Mm-hmm.
less likely to analyze yourself and analyze your life because nothing's wrong, right? Everything seems to be going well. So it's like, why should I take a step back and look at what's wrong when there doesn't seem to be anything wrong? I've got a family, I've got a house, I've got a good paying job. But for a lot
Yeah.
of people of our age group, we don't have a house, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have a decent job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being in a bad situation like that, or a less ideal situation, causes people to look at themselves and their lives more closely than you
Mm-hmm.
would and than you would otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, man. I think if I think what we need to do is we need to throw this whole system away and just like get a new system in here. And then we need to decide like a better fucking way to go about deciding issues and shit. Like for example, dude, I don't know what the like okay, I don't know what is happening in America politically, right? Because I can't trust the White House because every time that they come up with like a story,
Yeah.
there's always like 10 other fucking sites. and other trusted like neutral outlets that will say they're lying. And then so it's like, and there's a history of the White House constantly making up fucking shit, right? Especially Trump's White House, like constantly fucking contradicting everything that they said. Like literally, just this morning or some shit, Trump talked about how like everyone at the NATO world meeting loved him and how they were applauding him. And there's literal video fucking evidence from literally over 100 websites of people laughing at him because he's a fucking moron. And the fact that like he could just blatantly say that shit on live television, and it comes from the White House, which is again something that we are supposed to look at and go, oh, that's who runs this fucking shithole. That place is now fucking like compromised. Like,
right.
in
Of
terms
all places,
information.
the people in charge of our government, the White House should be a trustworthy source of news. But right now it's just not.
It's not. And then, so where do you go? Like, if you go to fucking Fox News, it's obviously spun by those motherfuckers. And if you go to CNN, that's also spun by some other mother.
Right.
So it's like everywhere you go, it's like, it's always some form of greed.
It's all biased.
Like,
it's all people at the top are in charge of all of it. You know, billionaires control all these networks. They control the newspapers. So I mean, I think we are fortunate that we do live in a time where anybody can publish something. You know, you can go online and you can publish something. And you can tweet stuff. You can spread awareness way easier than you could in the past, where, you know, if it wasn't in the newspaper 100 years ago, it didn't happen. Like, if there was no written incident of it, it basically didn't exist.
Right.
Whereas today, you know, there's much more accountability because anybody can make that written notice, I guess.
True, but I think also lack of education is leading to a lack of critical thinking in a lot of American citizens. And it's to the point where I think a lot of people are buying into the fake news because they either don't have the time or the critical thinking to go, you know what, there might be another side to this. You know what I mean?
Just, you know, it's just what they want to hear. And it goes back to,
that too. Yeah.
Oh, I lost my train of thought.
It goes back to the people echo chamber, right? Like people just
I mean it goes back to people not fact checking, right? How you're saying, you know, you hate when people don't fact check. Like Trump will come on and he'll say something that if you just Googled it, if you just did like a quick Google search, you could tell that he's not telling the truth. It's a lie. It's blatantly false.
It's so dumb. Yeah.
All it takes is a Google search, and people just aren't willing to do that because it's just like it just confirms what they want to believe already.
Bro, there's people our age who fucking have all this information. I have friends who are, I wouldn't say like they're like super intellectual in terms of like how they fucking like view the world and shit, because it's not like that for a lot of people, but they're smart enough to fucking, you know, earn a decent income and, you know what they want in their life and shit. Yeah, they can tie their fucking shoes and earn a paycheck, right? Motherfuckers are, you know, they're basic, but they're intelligent enough to do that. These people fucking sit here and tell me that they support Trump and all this shit, and I have nothing against that. I don't care like politically where anyone stands, right? Because I'm so comfortable with how I view shit that I have no reason to hate you on your view, right? So like you can view whatever the fuck you want. So, you know, people are always really comfortable telling me like, oh, I support Trump, this and that. I don't argue. But sometimes like I'll just kind of ask them questions like, you know, like, what do you think about this event that happened that Trump went to that, you know, he looked like a fucking idiot, and they'll just tell me, no, but Trump, like, no, dude, because Trump was saying like everyone was great to him there and people like really loved his opinions. And then it blows my mind because I'll show them like information that contradicts that, and then they'll legit like try to rationalize to me that they're correct. But in that moment, I can tell that it's almost like, you know, that friend that you have that like always has to like show you that they're right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter what. And then like I can see that part of them kind of like click right when they try to like defend themselves. And I'm just like, dude, this has nothing to do with politics. It's just because you're fucking insecure about your view. Like you have to justify it somehow. You're just gonna call it fake news or whatever the fuck buzzword you have and move on. Like
I think that people attach themselves too closely to their political opinions. You know, like it feels like an attack on Trump is an attack on them almost, and it's like that's not the case. It's like
hilarious though. It's funny because sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's funny because in India, right? So one of my uncles there, he used to be a political leader there, for a city, but he got kicked off because of corruption and shit. But that
Okay, yeah,
motherfucker was, I was talking to him, and he told me the number one rule of politics is to basically get the poor people to hate the other poor people, to hate
yeah,
to get the middle class to hate the other middle class. Whole point of politics is to divide. And so when you look at what Trump is doing, he's a guy that has failed virtually every business he's fucking owned, and has gotten small loans of $1 million, right? All his fucking life, right? He has now convinced poor middle class citizens of America and disenfranchised people to basically hate their own kind
right.
because he has them in his cult. And it's like the funniest thing because they all think that they're in this like really smart echo chamber, but from the outside it literally just looks like a bunch of sheep just like herding around like this guy that like convinced them that this is reality. It's fucking crazy just to like see that shit happen real time.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, that people talk. There's different metaphors for it, but it's basically like one guy. There's a pizza and three people are eating it, and one guy eats like six slices,
Yeah.
or like there's one slice left, and he points at the other guy and says, "That guy wants that last slice of pizza." And it's just
Right.
like you just ate
Yeah.
like all of it, dude.
Yeah.
So it's just like what you said about how it's the middle class that's fighting amongst themselves, while the upper class, like the billionaires, are just running, to the bank laughing. It's just,
Dude.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
sad because it all comes down to the system that we live in, and like politics, and how politics are just like all the politicians, at least on the right side in America, are bought out. A
Mm.
lot of the ones on the left also have a lot of wealthy donors.
Mm.
If you look at the Democratic candidates right now, all of them are
Yeah.
taking money from uh, super PACs, except for Bernie Sanders.
And Yang, right? I thought he's not taking shit either.
Um, I'm not sure on that, to be honest.
I don't know
You have to
either.
check that.
I thought he was doing like
I don't follow
grassroots
the
and shit.
Yang super closely.
He's not gonna win. I'm gonna be honest, just because no one knows him as much as Sanders at this point. You know what I mean? Just
I
from
mean,
like
I
what
think
happened
everybody
last time.
knows
But
him, but
yeah,
literally all he ever talks about is his quote unquote freedom dividend, which universal basic income, I think it's a good thing. I think it's something that's going to be necessary within like the next couple of decades. But
right.
it seems like that's all he's running on. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's obviously not going to win, but I think him being in the race and being able to provide exposure to that issue is a good thing,
True. I'll
So I
give you.
guess if
Yeah, that's
if
true.
if all he hammers is that, then I guess that's a good thing, because it's like, oh, Yang a couple years ago, he's talking about, this freedom dividend.
Yeah,
And it puts the ideas in people's minds, like it plants the seed, right? Like when Bernie started running back in 2016,
yeah,
and he was talking about college, free college tuition, and Medicare for all. A lot of people, even on the left, were saying, that's unrealistic, that's crazy, that's radical. And now here we
yeah.
are 3 years later, and there are multiple candidates that are running on those issues or some variation of that.
Dude, that is, dude. Not not only just that one issue, but another issue that he had with your digital footprint. You should have a piece of that if companies are using it to make a profit off you, or if they're just buying it. Like you control your own. Um, you control your own. What's the word for it? Your digital presence, right? Like
Mhm.
your ads, your interest, all that shit. You should be able to get a piece of that, and you should be able to control who gets it and who sells it and how much of a price you want to sell it at. Like, take the power away from these motherfuckers who just keep using your data on their own to make a profit. And I think that is a really interesting point of view that no one else has talked about, and that I would love to see Bernie like maybe tackle that or sort of bring it up, or just any candidate really like that. That's a good issue to talk about. Even Trump, like honestly, as much shit as I give Trump, if he like picks up on that issue, you know what I mean, or UBI or the free college shit, like I don't know, it's like I just wish people in politics would actually represent the people and not like
All right.
some fucking court. Like isn't that how America was fucking founded, bro? Motherfuckers wanted representation without taxation, bro. There's zero representation for fucking anybody. Like it's literally like they've managed to convince the middle class, the working class, to vote against their best interest. They've literally won
Yeah.
like this fucking race. Like it's and they still ride for that
That's
fucking
literally
thing.
what Trump is. Like you said, he
Yeah,
works for the billionaires,
yeah,
and the middle class think that he works for them, and he just doesn't. Like his tax cut that everybody was talking about. Oh, the Trump tax cut, it helped out the middle class, and like I think it's over 80% of that went to billionaires. I think it's
yeah,
close to $2 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires. Which,
yeah.
if you go back to the free education thing, that would pay off all of that. And yet you have people on the right saying, oh, no, that's unrealistic. That's too expensive. We can't do that. Our taxes will go up, blah, 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 blah. And it just seems like when you look at the right and all of their concerns literally come down to how much they're going to be paying in taxes.
Literally, there's
Like,
nothing. They don't give a fuck about any other fucking
right.
issue.
It
Like
just
that's
comes down to money. And like it comes
yeah,
down to greed. And it's
yeah.
just like there are so many more things that are important than just money.
Dude, I have friends that will tell you the opposite. Cause I literally have a friend that's made so much money off of doing his fucking whatever job that he does. He makes hella fucking money and always like shows me like all the checks that he gets. And this guy is the most like ultra conservative guy, but he used to be liberal when he was poor, like when he had no money. Like this guy used to be like, "Yo, we should have free everything." Like what the fuck? And then money comes around, and then suddenly he's like, "No, I don't want to get fucking taxed, bro. I don't want
Yeah.
to be a fucking socialist country." Like all this dumbass shit that he just fucking parrots from people he heard. But it's like I like I look at that, bro. I look at that mindset. I look at all of that, and I think to myself that the the problem is we have become this weird abomination where it's like nationalistic and capitalistic mixed with greed just kind of come together. Like the pendulum is like swinging to more nationalism right now. Like if you really look at the way people are looking at politics and just Trump, or not even just Trump, just like America, right? Like people are becoming ultra nationalistic. Like we're getting to that point now.
So can
And
you
it used to
describe for
yeah,
me
yeah.
what you mean by nationalistic?
I think nationalistic means that you have now tied your political, religious, or whatever passionate ideology you have to this country and to your citizenship or allegiance to this country. So, for example, like if someone starts like saying that Trump is shit, right, at whatever the fuck, and they try to prove him wrong, a person can just tell you, well, you don't support America then because Trump is American. Trump is the leader of America, right? It's like you associate your dumbass like beliefs with this country, which it should never be associated, to be honest. Like they're two separate things. But nationalism sort of comes up when you start mixing the two and you get too passionate. Now it becomes about you like defending America when really it's just you defending your dumbass viewpoint.
Well, I think I don't know, I feel like nationalistic, or I've heard this term before, and it always comes off as like a negative word, right? Which seems strange to me because I think you should be able to take pride in. This is a very American thing to say to say you should take pride in where you're from,
Right.
because it's a country that was built by the people, and to say I'm proud to be an American doesn't mean I'm proud of what our country is doing or that I support the person who's in office, but it means that like you support the ideals that the country is founded on. In my opinion, that's what it means. So as far as like
Hmm.
when I hear, oh, you are loyal to your country or whatever, in my mind that sounds like a good thing. That means that you believe in the Constitution and what that stands for. Which if you look at Trump, he's directly opposed to that sort of thing. And it
Yeah.
seems like it's almost like a totalitarianism that's going on right now. And it's like it's I feel like it's less like saying, oh, you're attacking America, and it's more saying, oh, you're attacking Trump.
Right. It gets mixed up. That's the issue right now. Like that's
Mhm.
I think there's nothing wrong in taking pride in your country, right? Obviously, like your what it stands for and everything. Personally, I love America. I'm proud to be an American in terms of like what you were saying in terms of Constitution, the things that we value, the freedom of speech, man. Like this country has created so many careers, so many types of jobs, so many opportunities for so many motherfuckers. Like it's insane. I love America, but I think right now I can't support it completely because it's like I don't know what it means to be American anymore. Like I feel
Mm,
like I feel like the American way has been lost, and it kind of sucks to say that because I love America, but like I feel like it's lost in this whole mess of like motherfuckers getting too fucking greedy, bro. Just
right.
too greedy. Just like trying to take everything away from everybody, trying to convince people to vote against their best interest. Just like all this bullshit happening. Like I can't wholeheartedly and consciously support being an American when this is the bullshit that
Yeah.
this country is now representing. And I hope one day I can say that I'm a proud American again. But right now, I'm a very ashamed American. Like I'm just
Right.
ashamed to be associated with this clusterfuck, this like clown
Yeah.
fiesta of bullshit fucking happening on a daily basis. And yeah, man, it just I don't know. That's just where I'm at about
Yeah. I think
nationalism.
right now it's a really difficult time to feel proud to be an American. Some people maybe feel that way, but it's like you said, and like I was saying earlier, like I feel like I should be able to say that. Um, and it should be separate from Trump and our government and that sort of thing. But I feel like, that's such a large part of what the country is in the moment is who is representing our country. And right now it's a bunch of corrupt politicians and basically CEOs that are paying them off. So like
Yeah.
right now it's really hard to say, oh, I'm proud when, we've got places in the country that don't have clean water to drink. It's like
Yeah.
we're just living in this society where everybody only cares about themselves and we're not looking at what we can do to help each other out or what would be beneficial for everybody. We're just looking about at like ourselves and what's good for me.
Yeah, dude. I think, dude, just like another thing was, do you remember this like whole uh we call them boomers now, right? Basically, these fucking boomers. But do you remember when the boomers had this thing where they called our generation the me generation?
Right. Very
And
entitled.
very entitled. They said that we were always on our phones and we're entitled and we want
Right.
everything and we don't work hard for anything. But these same motherfuckers are part of the generation that is robbing the shit out of this generation. And I hope to God one day when these boomers fucking pass, right, and the next generation moves the fuck on, I hope that our generation can be a lot kinder to the ones
Yeah.
coming behind us. And I hope that maybe by the time we get to a point where we can make some actual change in this fucking country, because right now, dude, voting to me even seems pointless because the whole system is fucking retarded. Like, I don't know, just the 2016 election when Trump won. Why are there so many stories coming from the White House and every single fucking news outlet, not even from this country and outside our country, saying that Russia was involved in the voting process
Hmm.
and how they rigged it? And then we also had this thing where the fucking what is it, the House of Representatives, or who is that, the house that did that the Electoral College, that's what that shit is, right? We even had a story about how those motherfuckers are compromised. And it's just like when you look at the voting system in general, it is equally as corrupt and shameful as our education system and as the predatory loan system. Like
Yeah.
everything about it is fucking stupidly corrupt. Like I don't even think votes even matter that much. And that's the saddest shit in the world to see us come to that point, like where we were there once and now look at what the fuck is happening. Like
Yeah. I mean, I think, I used to be of the mindset that, votes don't matter and that sort of thing because there are, you have the politicians who are drawing the districts, like the voting districts,
yeah.
are drawing them in a way that benefits the Republicans, which is
Yeah.
obviously wrong to show any sort of bias. It shouldn't be drawn that way.
Yeah.
If you look at like some of the way they're drawn, it's like ridiculous, right?
It's so
Um,
dumb. Yeah.
but I think like now more than ever, it's important to get out and vote and show that, hey, you know what? Like our generation is serious about what we're
Hmm.
saying. We're not just going on social media and we're not just, tweeting. We're actually going out. We're using the power that we've been given, which is our vote, to voice our opinions. And I think that's important to do. Whether, you live in California where it's a
Hmm.
very blue state where your vote, quote unquote, doesn't matter. But every vote you get from somebody young is saying, you know what? This generation's serious. They're fed up. They're tired of this shit. They're coming out and they're voting. And I think that's
I
important.
like
In
that.
2018,
Yeah.
for the midterm elections, there was a record turnout for young voters, um, which is great. And the media downplayed it. Of course, they said, "Oh, it's not that big," but we were able to flip the House from Republican to Democrat, which was huge.
Right.
And right now, there's been some bills passed and things that have passed in the House that have gone to the Senate, and then you have Mitch McConnell that just lets them sit on his desk. So
Right.
I think it's important for young people to go out and vote, regardless of whether you live in a state that your vote, quote unquote, doesn't matter, because it says, you know what, this is my voice, I'm using it right now, and we're serious about it.
True. You know what? Okay. Even though I still hold my opinion about like the voting thing, I think I'll encourage that too. People should just go and vote. Like get your
You're
voice
gonna
heard.
hold your opinion that your vote doesn't matter, but you're gonna tell people
Fuck
they should
it.
go vote.
Because I feel like at this point, this isn't the worst contradiction that's happened so far. So it's like fuck it, dude. Like I'm gonna believe this. I'll vote anyways. I hope other people do too. But I think the number one thing is I want people to realize that you are pretty much the same as every other motherfucker out there. And the fact that people are trying to divide that and make you think that like your side is good and their side is bad is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like people think the same a lot of times. Like you just have to be able to open up and like understand how another person like looks at shit.
Mhm.
But I think an even bigger thing is if you are very much Democratic or very much Republican, no matter what side you're in, I want you to really ask yourself one question, right? If you have the entire government to yourself, all the House of Representatives, you'd be happy, right? If no matter blue or red, you'd be happy if everything is blue, everything is red. But just imagine, right? For just one example, if the other side has a majority and you don't, how upset would you be, right? You'd be upset at that. You'd be like, no, fuck, I want my guys in there, right? I want my team to fucking win. I want this to happen. That's the same fucking like argument that is currently happening right now on a 24/7 basis. I want my guys there. I want it to be all blue or I want it to be all fucking red. I want you to realize that it is all one big fucking joke to see who gets into what these positions are. The most important thing is the candidates that are running and what they fucking stand for. And I'm not gonna tell people to go vote for Bernie or go vote for Trump or whatever the fuck. But
I'm
what
gonna
I
tell
want
people to
you
go
to
vote for Bernie.
go,
Tell
vote for whoever you want is my point, right? But whoever you vote for, before you make that fucking vote, what I want you to do is I want you to grow just a singular brain cell and go Google everything these candidates are saying. Everything. I want you to Google everything. Just
And not just what they're saying, but
understand
also their
who you're
voting
voting
record.
for. Voting record and what they stand for. See if the shit that they stand for is going to actually impact your life positively. Fuck these people that say that it'll never happen, because those motherfuckers are what we talked about earlier as the people who are not, who feel like because they got dicked over, they're going to dick over everyone else. You know what I mean? Like, don't listen to people who think that way. Like, change can happen, but just, make sure that you are informed. Make sure that you actually look into these things and don't just like follow people blindly,
Don't just follow your parents. Don't just follow, your church leaders.
Dude,
I,
straight up, bro.
I think that, like you said, you need to look at it critically and you need to think about it for yourself and think about not just your future, but the generation below you as well. I think, like we said, too often people get caught up in themselves and you need to look at the people below you because your vote is going to impact them. The older generation has been voting for themselves this whole time. They've never once took a step back and say, you know what, I'm going to vote for my children. They always vote for what's going to benefit them, and that's why we're at where we are. So I want to be sure, when I'm going to the polls and I'm voting, I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm thinking about the kids beneath me. I'm almost out of school. I don't have any debt. So making a vote on that isn't going to affect me. Why should I vote for that, right? Because it's going to make these people's lives better. So it's like, I don't know. I have tremendous faith in the Zoomers, dude. I feel so good about the Zoomers. I don't know. I think everybody looks at younger generations with disdain. It's always like, oh, back in my day, this is how it was. And I've caught myself doing that before. But I'm trying to make this conscious effort not to do that because, that's the future of this country. Like right now, we need to be with those people. It's the same thing, we were talking about how we divide everybody up in left and right. Like we need to come together
Yeah.
on not just like political ideologies, but also like close that generational gap and say, you know what, we all have more similarities than differences, and we need to recognize that and think that everybody's really just looking out and making the decisions that they think are best. Yeah. Like the majority of people, the vast majority are not making decisions trying to hurt other people.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, everything you just said, I agree with, dude.
Unless you're a billionaire and you're whatever. Yeah. But
I mean, if you're listening to this and you're a billionaire, I just want you to know, you can go fuck yourself.
Please,
you know
what I'm saying, dude? Please sponsor us. We'll sell out right now.
We'll sell out right now. Yeah, dude. Nah, but the biggest thing is just fucking use Google. Get informed, man. just learn about what it is that you find important in life. Research that shit and figure out who's right for you. You know what I mean? And make the right choice, man. Think about other people. Yeah, man.
Like Raj said, doesn't matter who you're voting for, but do your research and get out and show that, the young people want their voice to be heard. Because the whole, my vote doesn't matter, I think that's it's kind of some propaganda bullshit to keep the boomers in power. So
are you saying that I'm trying to keep the boomers in power?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
What if I'm on the boomer side this whole time?
You're over here telling young people their vote doesn't matter. They're going to stay home because they're saying King Raja says not to vote doesn't matter.
I'm booming, boys. I'm a boomer. I'm a boomer on this shit. But yeah, dude.
But yeah.
Fuck. I think one thing I want to end off with is just to let people know that being somebody that rapidly defends your point and gets upset and then calls everything fake news that isn't contradicting your point, it doesn't make you sound smart. It doesn't make people want to believe in you. And it actually, and surprising if you don't understand this, right? It socially makes people not want to engage with you in any conversation about politics. And that's what's going to keep you stuck in that mindset. So if you find yourself getting upset at other people's viewpoints because it doesn't match your own, just take a second to realize that it's not that serious and to just look at the other side. Just see what they're saying compared to what you're saying and make an informed fucking decision, man. I think that's how politics should be handled. It shouldn't be so fucking like yelling at each other. Give me one sec. My fucking mom is like yelling at me from downstairs.
Oh man, right at the end.
Actually, you know what? Let's end it off real quick.
End it off real quick. Hey. Thanks for listening. Leave some comments below.
Yeah,
everybody be respectful.
Yeah.
And
let us know how you view these issues.
If there's anything down there we find interesting, we'll pick up on it.
Hell yeah, we always do. We read all the comments. Yeah.
Leave a 5-star review on iTunes.
Of course. You can't forget the 5-star review.
And BernieSanders.com. Go check it out. All right.
We done.
We out. Peace.